Alright, this is Rob Fitz, and we're drafting again, and I have an absolutely ridiculous first pack. Wow, I've never seen a pack like this. Marrow Mage is just a complete game winner. Sandstone Rumbler is one of the fiercest red cards. Tempestuous Blade Dancer is unbelievable. The other Blade Dancer, Blade Master, gosh, everything in here is amazing. Um, I hate myself. Skewer is first pickable, but not when you're dealing with a set like this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the blue, because the problem with the red is like the person after the red is also going to take a red, and the person after that's also going to take a red. So they're all going to be drafting red, so I'm hoping they all, and the skewer, I'm hoping they all mess each other up. Whereas I'm going to be sitting pretty with blue, which hopefully like no one to my right is competing over. Haha! Oh, amazing! The Oculus is so good. And the Wind Speaker, I've been talking about how I want to build a blue-white deck. This might be the chance to do that. I mean, to be able to exhaust, and then to be able to deal damage. So the question now is whether I want to. Well, they're both kind of control. I would love to have both these cards, but unfortunately, that's not the way the world works. Let me look at the rest of the card of my jiggies before I make a hasty choice. I like the color a lot, but you need. Ooh, excuse me. I got the hiccups. All sorts of other cards to enable it. Slicer's good. I like the soup. I like lunge. This is a great pack too. So do I want the faster one? Do I want to commit to white or green? Or do I want to just go with the bomby thing? I'm not confident I can last till turn 6. I like being really fast. Let's try fast. Screw it. I haven't played blue-white or blue-green before, so let's just see how that goes. We'll do like a blue. I would totally do blue-black if I just drafted the other stupid thing, but whatever. Oh, the black is so good. But it's always nice to pass a pack with 2 good cards. So the Lackey is great, and Paraphagy is great, and Vampiric Kiss is great. And remember, I just passed a lot of really good red, and now I'm passing a lot of really good black. And that's terrific because it confuses the other drafters, because you get someone being like, oh, no one's taking black, so the black, 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 and you get 3 people in a row all doing black and red. And they end up draining each other's resources, which is nice. So the blue control or the white shift. I gotta take the shift. I need creatures. You need troops to win when you're playing limited. And later in the game, I would love to take the entangling webs. Because it's a really nice, like, haha, I win. You disable their blockers and you go in for it. But early in the draft, it's more important to get your good creatures. Now here, this is interesting. So basically, I'm choosing here between the shift flying and shift first strike, and both of them are equally good. If I was playing red and white, I would definitely go for the Spiritbound Spy, because I love my 1-drops, as you guys have probably seen in other videos. But here, do I want white? Do I want blue? Flying, first strike, they're both so good. What do I want to signal? There's so much good white in this pack. I'm going to take the blue, just because I don't want my neighbors taking blue. And if my neighbors are taking white, I'm happy to throw away the Deep Gaze Acolyte. He's not that good, but I can't throw away the blue. Suffocate. Suffocate is a counter that creates spiders. And I'm not planning on playing spiders. As much as I like, how many spiders does it give you? 2. 2 spiders is not useful to me. This guy I'm interested in, a Coyotal Allegiance, to draw a card, and it gives you a body, but he's only useful if you got something to like man, like use them for. Now I've got one really nice control card here, but for me, it's ultimately a choice between like Pride's Fall and Spiritbound Spy, and I love my one drops. And then also the Spiritbound Spy turns into a flyer, and as a flyer, he's like so powerful for the Marrow Mage that I really can't deny that. Now, the Tireless Researcher. Almost ready to draw a card. This guy should be so good. For like 4 resource, you would expect him to not completely suck, but there you go. He's okay if you can give him flying, right? Because a 2/3 swinging in the air, there's like very little they can do to stop it. So that's actually an interesting point I just raised. So can I get another Windborn Disciple? Essentially, if I take him, I'm betting on the Windborn Disciples. Or Metal would be my other pick, which is a really solid card. I'm going to go the slow game. I'm going to take him. So I'm going to take him, but I'm ready to not use him. So I took him on the basis that like the other card was marginal metal in this deck. I've got evasion already. I don't really need first strike. Although it's actually pretty useful to be able to buff a spirit to 2/2 so that it can take down eagles and stuff. But it's not huge, right? That's like, let's call that a marginal advantage. And so my bet here is that I can draw a deck later using some underplayed cards that will actually make him really powerful. Here I'm choosing between the Lightning Brave and the Etherealize. I'm probably going to take the Brave. But the black in here is amazing. Look at that. That's like 3 amazing black picks. I'm interested in what's going to happen with the black. This guy, the Cry of Adamath, I really like in white-black decks because you end up with all these spirits, and you basically like you create the spirits, but then you don't throw them away, and then you Cry of Adamath and like 5 spirits +2/+2, and it's like fucking 15 damage, and the other guy goes, "Whoa, that's hacks." And you laugh. But in this deck, I mean, that guy's useless. I have to take smoke signals or freaking. I'm not happy with that pick. That was a wasted pick, but you gotta get some of them. The Coyotal dude, I've got Coyotals. Where are my Coyotals? Necrotic, Windspeaker. He's a Coyotal. I plan to keep him alive. This one I really like, though. Although in blue and white, the reason I like this the most is because the stuff she brings back from your graveyard, it transforms but it doesn't revert. So like in black-white, if you've abominated something, you can bring it back and it's a 4/4 flyer, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Now Spider Nest is another. So I'm going to build a funny deck here, I think. So Spider Nest is shitty. You should never pick this card. But Lunacy and blah 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 are also super shitty. And what I'm looking at here is I've got the Windspeaker, which can tap stuff. And if you can tap things, this becomes a very interesting card. So it depends. Like, I probably won't play that, so let me just move that into the sideboard. I probably won't play that, but in the case that you do, it would be hilarious. So, and there was nothing else that strong in that deck. Here, the combat trick, I gotta take it. Arcane Focus is good, Shift is good. I'll probably take the Shift. I'm amazed Merciless Color has looped. This is just so good. It's so good. If you play black-white, it's amazing because you can sack and get a spirit. If you play black-blue, you've got spiders, which you can sack. It's like, I can't believe the color is cycling, but oh well, people will be people. So here, do I want a 5-drop or do I want a counter? Maybe the counter. Those are both pretty crappy. I'm probably not main decking that. Smoke signals, fine. Not main decking that. Although I've got another one in there. Am I a hypocrite, or am I saying that one... Whoa! A last pick etherealized! That's amazing! All right. Thank you, universe. Brown Fox Scout. Oh, this is the top card. You can see him play the top card. That is a ridiculously good guy. I mean, I'm not going to play him because he's wrong for my deck, and I'm not a rare drafter. But that guy, sheesh. If I was doing, I don't know. I don't know the constructed environment. I really only draft, but I feel like that's just abusive. Because essentially what he gives you is like, obviously he's an amazing 2-drop, but where he's really cool is when you get to him on like turn 6 or turn 7, right? And you're about to draw some shitty like ramp card, but you don't have to draw him because you can just play him off the top of your deck. So what that means is you can play him as an early aggro, but then you can also clear him for later when you actually want to be drawing your responses. But for me, this is an easy choice into the Chimera Guard Fallen. I don't know what I would put this on. Maybe the Ethereal Caller, maybe the Windborn Disciple. Maybe the Windborn Disciple gives something else. Or the Lightning Brave could be fine too. It swings for 5 then. There's another Lightning Brave, so that's fun. Or another Windborn Disciple. Both of those are really good. The Infiltrator. I think it's funny to have like the Infiltrator and like some of these spider cards in your deck. The ones that are actually useful, because like a 1/1 flyer for 2 is like fine. You would probably play him anyway. But what's interesting about him is he draws a lot of hate in terms of removal, because people always think you're up to something. And I love just drawing that hate, right? Because later I'm going to have a real threat, which is going to F them in the A, and I would love if they wasted their like skewer or whatever on some stupid pointless spider. But let me see. So looking at my curve here, I probably have to take the Windborn Disciple. I like Lightning Brave a lot, but I've got enough 4-drops, and I want to make sure that I can still be... I'm worried in blue and white that I'm not going to be fast enough. And I really like the fast decks. So there's another one, which is probably my top pick. This guy's really interesting. I saw this go off. Someone played this against me. They were playing a spider deck. It was the best spider deck I've ever played. It was just unbelievable. And what he did is he used the one-shot to search my library, and he pulled 3 spider eggs out of my library. And it buries them. So he got 3 spiders, and then 3 random cards on top of that got buried from my library. And that was really fierce. This is like such an amazing enabler for a spider deck. If anyone played Magic the Gathering during Ice Age, there was a card called Jester's Cap, which basically did this, but it was way worse because it cost 4, and it came into play tapped, I think, and so you couldn't use it till the next turn. Whereas this, you can go and just blow them up with it. I'm choosing between Windborn Disciple and Cry of Adamath. I'm probably going to take the Disciple. I'm not sure what I'm looking for in this deck, to be honest. I'm not super confident in it. The Kin of Olkoth. He drops as a 2/5 flyer on turn 4, which can shut down a lot of decks. The other option, the Incubation Webs, also amazing. I've got nothing that triggers off of spiders. There's so many good cards in this. Where is this? 19. There's already been 3 picks. It's so funny. Someone took the rare and then they took 3 commons, but actually this is like all 3 of those are first pickable. So I'm really surprised that they made it this far. I'm probably going to take the 2/5. I think this strategy that I'm building toward, because I'm going to give him the flying gem and he's going to be +1/+1, so it'll be a 2/5 flying. I think the strategy I'm building toward here is to basically stabilize the ground and then put everything into the skies and just like use a couple of these big defense critters. I mean, right now he's the only one I have. You know what I would love to get for this deck, which in previous videos I've made fun of him. I said he was good in control decks, is the white 3/3 shift Stalwart. Because if I could shift Stalwart onto like one of these flyers that has some defense, or even you should use the Windborn Disciple and you shift flying onto him, then you win, right? Because you can block and you can attack. Now, my big question here, I was just thinking this last pack, I didn't want to say it because it was too embarrassing, is that there may actually be room in this deck for the Star Touch Brave. Because the danger for me is that someone comes in with like a 4 whatever, right? And I've got no blockers, and I don't really have the supply of chump blockers I need to deal with that. The other option, though, is to take life gain and just be aggressive. And realistically, that's probably what I'm going to do. But I think that if there was ever a situation for the Star Touch Brave, this was it. Where I've got like 4 Windborn Disciple. I've got so much flying stuff. And you just block everything and come over the top. Here, I'm amazed the Pyrosoul Summoner hasn't played. Red-White's my favorite archetype in Draft. At least 3/3/3 Draft, and I mean, he just fits so perfectly. He's amazing. He's a really nice body in the early game, and with the Blaze Elementals, he helps you come in around the edges. And then 3/1 speed, right? That can tip a game once you've been quite aggro in the first 3 turns. And then if you do happen to get screwed, the Phantoms can help you sneak out those couple last points of damage. But for me, white-blue, do I want the Devoted Infuser, or do I want the 1-drop? Probably the 1-drop, or maybe the Stabilizer. Ooh, it's so tough. I'm going to take the Bright Moon Brave. Now here I've got the combat trick. I don't rate Eye of Lixil. I've mentioned this before. That's obviously useless. This can win games that are stalled, but I don't play games to stall. Although, with all my flyers, that could be interesting. So the question is, would I rather be able to have a 4/4 flyer, or would I rather be able to have a 3/3 Swift Strikes flyer? Tricky. Up, here we go. I'm going to take the... Oh, that's tough. I'm going to take the metal, I guess. You've probably noticed that I'm a big fan of things that... the Tireless Researchers, this is amusing. I'm actually going to play them, right? Because I said the Tireless Researcher was useful if you could give him flight. And I've got 4 Windborn Disciples, so he's definitely being main decked. And actually, that's the core of my deck, embarrassingly, is the 4 Windborn Disciples, the 2 Tireless Researchers, and the Marrow Mage. And I'm basically going to go for, like, stabilize the board. Speaking of, I really don't want the Abominate in play. These are all useless blues, and there's no white, so I'm just going to hate draft because Abominate could really mess with my day. Cry of Adamant is super interesting when I've got this many flyers. He gives Spell Shield, which I don't care about. So this is hopefully my win condition, so I'm going to hold on to that. Build up a bunch of flyers. If I could get more Spirit-Bound Spies, I'd be really happy with that. Vine Lash, I'm going to hate draft. That's how little I rate that stupid artifact. The other thing I realized is that you can't use it on the defense, right? You can only use it on the offense. I don't think I have that many 2-shard things. I've got a few. Whatever. I'll take that. People are so funny not taking the Scrap Tooth Cackler. But basically no one's playing red-white. Certainly no one... Oh my gosh, they gave me a nice uncommon blue. This guy isn't my favorite by any means, but he's solid. And if you give him flight, pretty great. The Crypt Dust, Necrotic, and the Threshold you don't have. What I'm really looking for is security in my double threshold. Although this is supposedly one of the more valuable cards. So it was worth $6.50, which could be something. But we always play to win. Rare drafting is for cowards, unless it's super valuable or your deck is super shitty, in which case do what you want, I guess. So here I'm really choosing between, like, all of these are good. That guy actually is one of my favorite cards. I think he's amazing. Really, really interesting. I like the Runeweb Infiltrator. The problem is I don't have a lot of ways to buff stuff up. And between, white, meh. I'm going to go for the control instead, the 4-drop control. It's pretty painful to give away a spirit token against some types of decks, but given that I've got all these flyers, I don't think it's really going to affect me that much. Oh, the Stalwart. I mentioned he would be great, although the Scrap Rummager is also really, really good. And looking at my curve here, I'm going to have to cut a lot of cards out, so I'm probably going to have to cut out a 4, so I don't really want to take more 4-drops. What would I take him instead of? So the question now is whether I want to go Stalwart plus Flyers or whether I want to go with Tireless Researchers plus Flyers. And I actually think the Tireless Researcher is worse but more amusing, so I'm going to do that. The Rummager is pretty good, actually. Given what I just said about rare drafting, this is pretty marginal. I don't feel strongly about the Rummager. Disciples. Would I play him? Yeah, I'd probably play him. Screw it. Periwinkle's valuable too. It's surprising that he's being passed because people always like their rare drafting. The Deep Gaze Disciple is cool. This isn't really the ideal deck for him because ideally you're playing him when like the Windborne Disciple is stupid because you're doubling up an ability on him because he's already got flight, so you get flight and he gets flight. Oh no, a troop you control. Oh, that's brilliant then. I'm definitely playing him. I would love the throwback because I'm worried about my early game control. I'm worried that if I end up against a deck like I normally draft, like with the Bashirs and the Scorches and the Indignations, that I just end up losing before any of this cool stuff can happen. The Shard Call I don't need because my resource base is pretty manageable. Spider Nest, Infiltrator, Seeker is probably the Infiltrator. The color I really like, but I've already got one, and I don't want to, like, the 2 whites during, on your 3rd turn is pretty hard to hit. If I was playing black, for example, I would definitely take the collar, even if she's hard to play, because once you abominate a spirit, she can bring back the spirit, and it still has the abominate on it. So that's totally unfair. She can basically res a 4/4 flyer. But for this deck, it's like, I just get a 1/1 spirit, and I don't care. This one, I'm freaking amazed people keep passing. I've been killed by that card so many times. It's demoralizing. When this becomes exhausted, blah, 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 that's crappy. I'm going to take this, and I'm not feeling great about my Entangling Webs. I took that earlier, remember, on the basis that we could get some more control-y, tappy cards. So here I'm wondering whether I want my 5th Windborne Disciple or whether I want another Entangling Webs. I thought I had an Entangling Webs. Did I just bin that accidentally? Whoops. My bad. Oh, you drag it to there. What was I trying to get rid of? Oh, the Spider Nest was what I was getting rid of. I've already got 27 cards, and I really don't know what I'm taking out of this deck. I probably don't have enough early game control. So I'm probably taking this guy. I like that in the sideboard. This is good, though. The Infuser, Tote's fine. Cripple, great. Spirit Bound Spy, I've been looking forward to one of those. Throwback is also a really interesting piece of control. It's a tough pick. Or Pride's Fall. There's like, gosh, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 totally reasonable cards. That's really tough. I've already got one devoted infuser, and I don't like the double blue shard base. So it's kind of between the Spirit Bound Spy, the Throwback, and I don't have a lot of one drops, so I'll take the. Whoa! Don't please pick that. Oh gosh, I accidentally nearly clicked too much on that guy. Now this is where you guys find out how committed I am to my goofy ass strategy. My 4 Windbound Disciples plus multiple tireless researchers. I'm reasonably committed to it. I think that would be really funny. Although, a combat trick. I have no combat tricks, and probably 2 tireless researchers is enough. So let's take the combat trick. A late Lightning Brave, I like it. Or the Deadeye Slicer. Now, I've got that other flyer, the... Whoops, not that one. The Deep Gaze Disciple, who benefits whenever something's shifted. So that's going to lead me away from the Lightning Brave and toward the Deadeye Slicer. Plus, I have so many 4-drops. Oh, I probably can't play them all already, so I'm going to take the 3-drop there. Another Pyrosoul, or is that the first one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 15 in the pack. Wow, there's 2 Pyrosoul cycling in this set. It's really sick. There's nothing I want here. The Mecha Filcake, if I was playing ground-based aggro, I'd probably hate draft him, or I might hate draft the Cripple. Maybe I should play the Cripple. Huh. Yeah, there's certain decks. I'm not going to main deck that, but there's certain decks that I would bring that in from the sideboard. This I talked about wanting, although gosh. Normally in a draft, you don't end up with this many playable cards. But I told you guys I was committing to the Tireless Researchers, and they need to tap to go off, so he is not on my radar. Because he stops things from tapping, and I want things to tap, so I'm not going to play him. I'm going to build a real novelty deck here. I think it could actually be quite powerful if I survive the early game. Gosh, Rites of the Tranquil Dream. I can't believe this is passed. No one's playing green at this table. Smoke Signals I'm not excited about, but neither of these are threatening, so I'll take that just in case it's a useful reserve card for me. The Merry Minstrels. Yeah, no one's playing green. Anyway, we'll get rid of that, so we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of blah, 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 Vandalize. Merry Minstrels goes. Cool. Let's get rid of the off-color. Oh, gracious. And then we've got one of the hardest deck building decisions that I've seen, because we've got 34 and we need to get down to, say, 24. So we need to lose 10 cards, and that's really, really tough. The Infiltrator, I can lose. Smoke Signals, that's a reserve card. Entangling Webs, I've got 2 of them. And the reason I took the Tangling Webs was to slow them down, but actually I'm pretty curvy, right? I've got 4 first turn cards, troops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Smoke Signals I'll get rid of, 5 second turn cards. So that makes me think that certainly I don't need 2 Entangling Webs. I might use that later as a win condition. 30, so 6 to go. Do I need the combat trick? I'm not sure. The Devoted Infuser. Is the Tireless Researcher a shift? That would have been cool. The Devoted Infuser. He's interesting to shift flying onto because he untaps each turn, and he's got shift, which is useful for my Ethereal Collar and for my 2 Deep Gaze Acolytes. So actually I'm going to keep him. The Scrap Rummager is really helpful for looking for answers. The Chimera Guard Fallen is one of the best cards in the set. It's hard to argue with my 3-drops, so that means I need to start cutting stuff out of the 4-drops. Oh, which is really, really hard. The Tireless Researcher is my amusing raison d'etre, as they say. So I could lose the Lightning Brave, the Sneaky Tricky, down to 28. So I probably need to lose one from each of these columns. Metal. What do I want to do about metal? Do I want metal or do I want the Bright Moon Brave? I probably would prefer to have metal. So here I'm accepting that I'm going to give up some curve because I'm going to give up the one drop guy because it's more valuable to have a bit of first strike in the sky. And I've got a lot of stuff in the sky. Now, if I'm going to lose something from here, it's probably a Sunseer or it's one of these two combat tricks. Life Drain's good and fun, but I've got two of them, and it's not gonna win me games. But then again, is Entangling Webs gonna win me games? I'm gonna keep the Critter, and I'm gonna lose the Entangling Webs, but I might switch that in reserves. And then here, the Devoted Infuser is probably the weakest card because they got flying. That might be too much flying. Gracious. Oh, you know what else I just realized though? Entangling Web synchronizes really well with the devoted, no, not him, with, sorry, the Tireless Researcher because it taps him as an activation cost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose the Invigorating Breeze and keep the Entangling Webs because maybe it lets me draw a card. I've got another one still in here, blah, 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 whatever. That I can use later, and I'm at 26, so I probably need to drop a card from each of these columns, just looking at my curve. Etherealize. I really like Etherealize in this deck. Maybe I need to drop two from this column. Maybe I lose a Windborn Disciple, because I've got enough flying already. I don't love doing that. I've got so much shift, though. It's just amazing. And then I lose one from here. The other option is to play only 15 resources. What does my resource base look like? 1.1, 1.3 on Sapphire, more Diamond, less Sapphire, but I really need to kind of play both. So here I'm going to lose the Devoted Infuser. Not because he's a weak card, but just because I don't like that double threshold blue. It makes me so nervous. And to be honest, his shift ability is not that useful for me. It's useful if you want to build like gigantic blockers and mess with the opponent, but the only gigantic blocker I have is the Kin of Olkoth, and like if I want to block with him, I just won't attack because he doesn't have that much attack power. Let's figure out my champion here. So I've got white and blue. So is there a multi-shard? No. So, show abilities, revert. He's really cool because he lets you make extra shift. Prevent damage, also really fun. Gain health, I don't care about that. Flying, I've got enough. Oracle Song for 7. I don't plan on letting the game go that long. Now, so really my choice is between like slowing down troops or reverting. And actually, I'm going to slow down troops. I've never played Web Weaver Thox before, so let's see how that all goes. And at this point, I will pause the video and get back to you guys if something fun happens.